What up, y'all? I'm here with Danny Matos, rapper, producer, author. I'm a big fan of this dude. What up, Danny? Thank you for having us. Real quick, there's a lot of things I want to cover with you. I want to go back to the night I met you. You were actually selling your book, which I got a copy of. You autographed it for me and everything. How did you go about coming up with a book? And then how did you feel it was received when you put it out?
I always wanted to write and perform. I just didn't for like a long time, like 10 years. And then finally I just decided to do it. And then what happened was I entered a contest called Poetry Idol. I was still brand new, to poetry and spoken word in general. And I found out about it and I entered it and I won the contest.
Okay.
And one of the prizes was a book deal. But the deal didn't work out with me and the person who ran the contest, but I still went ahead and made my own book. So I just went online and I found like a self-publishing organization and I put it out. And the idea for me was I sort of put every poem in the book in chronological order from when it was written in a year span. So I kind of wanted to like detail my first year of actually writing. I even the ones that I wasn't completely sold on, I put it in there just to show or attempt to show some sort of growth,
right?
So that's sort of how that came about. I wanted to show a detailed year-long process.
And were you already performing some of the poetry?
Yeah, I was already performing. Okay. I literally just, it was in the summertime in 2012, and I was like, next Monday I'm gonna go to open mic, and that's what I did. And then, yeah.
All right, now, in researching you, I read that you were shy coming up.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of your writing is based around how you had a lot of insecurities coming up and stuff. What was the moment, like basically what was the fuck it moment that you were like, you know what, forget all that stuff, I want to write, I want to perform, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, well, in the summer of like 2012, I had a mentor. Like it was somebody, not the classic definition mentor, but somebody who meant something to me in my life, and that support system was what catalyzed me just to say fuck it, you know what I mean? And I think that's important because I don't know if I would have done it without that. That on top of it, like a few years before that, I was kind of toying with it. I would listen to instrumentals in my room, like, it was just, I just didn't have, like, I would write a line or two, but I wouldn't have the confidence, or I guess the patience to see an idea through. You know what I mean? Even if it was shit at the end of it. You know what I mean? Can I curse?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Even if it was garbage at the end of it. You know what I mean? Because everything you write isn't always great. You know what I mean? But I didn't have, I guess, the confidence to see it through. And just see what happens.
Now, once you started writing and performing, how'd you feel? Like, in comparison, or how did you think it was going to feel, and then how did it actually feel?
Man, it felt exactly how I thought it was going to feel. Like, I feel like I found my identity, to be honest. It just felt like that's what I should be doing.
And the reaction was immediately positive?
Yeah, it's gotten better over time, you know, but I think, I'm not bragging, but I think what draws people to it sometimes is just the transparency, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like saying how I feel, pretty much, take it or leave it kind of thing. Yeah.
Let me brag for you. The first time I saw you performing was at an event held by Words at 4F, and we covered it. And when you got on, the crowd was super into it. If I recall correctly, the poem was a little leaning towards the female demographic, and they loved it. If it was a rap show, they'd have thrown panties on the stage. They might have even done that. I might have missed it on the camera. But no, they was definitely loving it. That's what I also enjoyed it immensely. That's what led me to get in the book, which I've shared with a lot of people, and they've loved it. Any plans to write another book?
Yeah, music is a focus now, but I'm still writing, poetry. And I think, I think I want the music to get somewhere first, before, because I would also love to bring some attention to spoken word, and not just slam. You know what I mean? That's an aspect of spoken word, but just the idea. Because the thing is with music is, sometimes people don't understand, but you have to be in the, well, for a writer, if you dabble in both, you have to be in the mood, because music is limited. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I don't mean that. I mean, it's arguably limited, but it is in terms of bar structure and song format.
Right.
You know what I mean? And with poetry, sometimes like you just can't condense metaphors or just what you want to say. You know what I mean? Or sometimes condensing it, takes away from the beauty of the idea. You know what I mean? And plus, music, like there's a fine line. Like there's an art to making music. You know what I mean? And you can't get too out there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can, but the idea is for people to receive my music. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a way you have to write it.
Your audience.
And then with the poetry, I mean, you can get as abstract and as crazy as you want and let people figure it out.
17-minute poem.
Right, and that's what draws me to it. When I was little, I was attracted to poetry because it sounds morbid, but I used to like reading someone who's passed on. I used to like to read their work because there's no one alive to tell you what you're interpreting is right or wrong.
Right.
And there's like freedom in that. You know what I mean? So that's what drew me to poetry in general.
So when did the transition to recording actual music begin?
I said I was just gonna stick with poetry, and then it was just like 9 months into it or so. It was like the summer of 2013. It was just something that I guess I was suppressing, you know what I mean? And it's because it's very daunting at first, too, because then you hear yourself when you record yourself, and it sounds horrible, like your first one, you know what I mean? And then,
I don't think any rapper immediately loves hearing the playback.
Right. And then after a while, you just get used to your voice, and then the confidence grows. When the confidence grew, that's when the music changed. But in general, the transition I guess it happened pretty quickly. I was still performing poetry and writing it, but in my room and stuff, I was writing music, you know what I mean? And then I started to go to the studio, a little over 2 years ago, and that's when it happened.
And now you recently released the Hangar, an independent EP.
Yeah.
Who did the production on that?
So, when I first started writing music, like I said, I was a very reserved person. So in college and high school, I knew people, but I didn't make a lot of contacts. And so when I wanted to start, I'm really not the type of person to wait on people either.
Right.
So I went on YouTube and I just downloaded beats and I wrote songs to that. And fortunately, an acquaintance from college who grew to be my friend because he became my engineer for who got me into music. But he started recording me, and then he couldn't because he was working on other projects with other artists. And then I had to find somebody else to sort of record these ideas and put it out. And that was just for me to say I could do it, you know what I mean? And then after that, I realized how much energy I was putting into the songs, and I just didn't want to rip those beats off of YouTube. I mean, I was putting my all in, and I mean, my all is different then than it is now. But then it was putting my all into these songs, and it wasn't even my music. So my goal going forward was to find a producer. So I interviewed with a few people, searching around, and then I put an ad on Craigslist, and then this dude answered, and I went to meet him, and the vibe felt right. His name is Rusty Mack, and then I've just been going to him for the past year and 2 months.
Okay.
Every week, and we just bouncing ideas and making beats and seeing what
sticks.
sticks.
So how long did it take for the project to come to fruition?
So what happened was we just kept recording new songs, and at one point, he was like, "Dude, you have to figure out." And then we were like, we have to figure out what we're gonna do because we're burying a hole pretty much. We were digging ourselves into a hole because there's just so many songs. And then also now that I noticed too is music is time sensitive, but it isn't. But you also want to be consistent with your sound in the moment. So you can record for 5 years, but then eventually you got to put something out that reflects where you're at the moment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Otherwise,
and also with your metaphors, or references, time references.
Exactly, and things grow, so you kind of have to be consistent. So we sat back and we were like, all right, how many songs do we want to put out? And he was like, we went back and forth 4 or 5, and I was like, I'm sold on 7, and then we just decided to pick those 7 songs. 2 of them were one of the first songs, 2 of the first songs we ever recorded, and New Genre, which was the first single, was the last song we recorded. You know what I mean? So, but we went back and we just figured 7 songs out, and that's how we did it. It could have went 7 other songs too. That's just what we chose in the moment.
I want to go back to New Genre. In just a second, but first I want to ask you why the Hangar.
I like foreshadowing a lot. Maybe I don't use it in my writing so much, but I like the idea of alluding to future success. And the hangar is where planes are stored. So for me, I wanted to pick a title that allowed me to keep going with it if I wanted that storyline to keep going.
Right, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Would the next project title kind of be related to the
Yeah,
first
I mean,
one?
that's the plan right now, but like I said, I mean, and you've seen it with other artists too, like, you know, 10 years from now I could continue it if I wanted
Right.
to. But I wanted to set the pace for if I ever wanted to reapproach it, you know, there would be lots of coverage. I mean,
Right.
the Hangar is the beginning of that
can
process.
be a one specific series.
Exactly, right.
Let's say in the future you start working with different producers and then
Right.
you want to come back to Rusty
Exactly.
Mac, you can go on the
Exactly,
Hangar series.
exactly.
Now to go back to new genre and something we were talking about earlier, have you considered, I mean, I'm sure you have, the idea has passed through your thoughts, but kind of creating a spoken word hip-hop blend where the rules of hip-hop and song structure maybe don't have to apply so rigidly to what you're doing.
Yeah, man, I mean, now, in the beginning I was trying to separate it.
Right.
And then now, like, I write songs at home where it's like there's one big verse, well, there's a hook, one big verse, hook, poetry.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And, you know, sometimes, like, I say to myself, oh, but that's not how songs go. And then I'm like, fuck it. You know, that's how my songs are going to go.
That's
you know
how
what I mean?
your song is going to
Right,
go.
yeah. So, you know, I keep in mind that, you know, like, for lack of a better word, singles are still important in this
Right.
day and age, and maybe you have those, you know,
Right.
but in terms of, like, I conceptualize projects all the time, and I know I'm not in a place where I could put out projects and it's received that way in
Right.
you know, in a mass way, but in my mind, like, I have projects where they're all fused and they're
Yeah.
blend, and there's two poems that I have right now that, you know, go before and after a song that I have right now.
Right.
I mean, so in my mind, it's always like that.
Now, are
Yeah.
you then able to go back to your producer, Rusty, and tell him, maybe for this song, I need 2 16-bar
Yeah.
verses, and then I need 6 minutes of strings where I'm just going to black out?
Yeah, or even just a cappella. Like,
Right.
we have stuff recorded that is just like that, you know what I
Right.
mean? Or that, because then you also have to be conscious of the drums, you know what I mean? So if you're just doing spoken word, you know, maybe some piano, guitar, no
Right.
drums, you
Right.
know what I mean? Or
Something
maybe
that
just
sets
like,
the ambiance.
exactly, yeah. So, I mean, I love doing, I envision myself, like, having shows where I literally just stop the songs and just do a poem,
Right.
but not lose anybody. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
That's
right.
the thing. Cause
Keep it within the flow
Exactly,
of the show.
right.
Now, can we look forward to something in that vein
Yeah,
in the show you got coming up?
yeah,
April 15th?
I'm gonna do that in April
All right, cool.
15th.
So
yeah.
everybody make sure y'all look out
Yeah.
for that April 15th. How do you feel the project was received, The Hangar? And before you answer that question,
Yeah.
let me tell you how I feel it was received.
Uh-huh.
And I think it came out pretty good because 2 reasons. One, I saw it featured on sohh.com, sohiphop.com.
Mhm.
And then I saw it, and I'm going to edit this out, on the bootleg
Okay.
website where I could download
Alright.
all albums.
Oh, really?
And it was on there.
Oh, that's
so I was
dope.
like, oh, that's cool. You know, he's with all these other,
Right.
you know, Futures and Drakes and stuff.
That's
and he's
cool.
right there with them. How do you feel it was received?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, you know, to be honest, because it's funny, like, my first, I guess, bootleg project, I'll call it, was like 21 tracks, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And, like, there's 21 songs from someone no one knows. That's a lot of music, you
Right.
know what I mean? But, you know, it was weird. Like, in the beginning, I didn't know if I should put out a song a week or something, you know, and I just wanted to put out a project because I also wanted to show that I can conceptualize a project, because I think that's important. You know,
Right.
and songs are cool, you know what I
Right.
mean, but can you put together a body of work? And some people argue that that's not relevant anymore, singles
Right.
are still relevant. But for me, from someone who was a fan first before an artist, to have a conceptual project, you know what I mean, is
Right.
important.
And, me to my next question. Again, in researching you when you
Mhm.
were younger, you were, how do I say this, a little overweight.
Yeah.
All right. So that probably led to your insecurities and lack of
Yeah,
confidence. I'm sure
that was
that plays into it.
was one of the two. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to present day.
Yeah.
You're in good shape.
Yeah.
If you follow Danny on Instagram
Uh-huh.
and on Facebook, you'll see that he's constantly posting workout videos, and he also hosts events where I guess you could work out with him. He'll show you a few things.
Right.
2-part question: how's that going?
Mhm.
And what led you to do that?
Yeah, so, like, I'm a trainer, you know, during the day. I know some people hide their day jobs when they're trying to become somebody,
Right.
but that's what I do. And it's a big part of my life, only because I feel like they go hand in hand, you know what I mean? My diligence with myself overcoming issues that I've had, you know, both, both as a man with like an eating disorder, you know what I mean, is kind of taboo, you know what I mean? So overcoming that, and then overcoming me as an adolescent and as a kid, you know, struggling with weight, that diligence allows me to approach my writing with diligence, you know what I mean? And I call it, you know, like I honor my inspiration, so I'm not always inspired to write, you know, but I'll still sit down, you know what I mean, and at my laptop or at a notepad and see what comes out, you know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, me conquering what I went through in terms of physicality has allowed me to bring that over to whatever I do, you know what I mean? So I think that's great, and you know, I think it matters. Like I think health matters, and it you know, it has to do with your mind too. It just helps you as an overall human being, you know what I mean? And you know, my plan is to take my music somewhere and, you know, add a fitness component also, you know, to it, where it's international, you know what I mean, where people are just like healthy, and healthy doesn't mean like looking physically a certain way. It just means being comfortable with the way you look, you know what I mean, and just being healthy. I mean, we should strive to be healthier than we are, you know what I mean, especially just for longevity.
A lot of rappers in particular ignore that.
Yeah.
And lack stamina, and their stage show, you can see it where they're breathing hard, sweating profusely after maybe a song, and you know, how do you feel that helps with your stage performance?
I mean, I think it helps like tremendously, and I also think that the lane is wide open for somebody, you know what I mean, who has this sort of background, especially because a lot of times, you know, when you do become somebody in the public eye, they'll ask you to look a certain way, you know what I mean? Whereas if you enter already like that, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's funny, like, I say some people become on camera, and some people become before.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
some
like
people, so some people mature in the public eye.
Right.
And some people mature and then get to the public eye, you know what I mean? And I feel like, especially with my late start, quote unquote, you know, I feel like I've done a lot of background work that some people do when they're already somebody, you know what I mean, in the public eye. So, yeah.
And you have a story to tell, one that others might not be so open to tell.
Yeah, right.
A lot of your writing, how can I put this? You display your weaknesses.
Yeah.
You display your fears. You display, like I said, the previous insecurities, even insecurities that you may still face today.
Right.
And that is what connects a lot of people to you. You give a lot of people strength, and I know you know this because I've seen the feedback that you've gotten. For instance, someone painted a painting based off one of your songs.
Right.
So how does something like that make you feel?
I mean, it's hard because it's like, I say this all the time, and it might sound weird, but I have a doubter in my head. Right. And I have an artist in my head.
Right.
And sometimes...
And they're probably fighting.
Yeah, and sometimes I force the doubter to listen to the artist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
As you should, though.
And
you don't want to...
yeah, but I feel like two people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Only because when I read my stuff, the doubter's reading it like, oh, wait, but this is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I'm convincing myself in the process. Like, when I'm an artist, like, I write something, and then I transition back to the doubter. And then when the doubter revisits the art, it's like, oh, wait a second, you wrote that. You know what I mean? Like, that's yours or whatever. So, you know, I think it's cool. And I also, I mean, for someone to, like, paint something of mine, too, just the way she saw it was like, I don't even have any words for it. That was dope.
Did you hang it up?
Nah, she has it. I kind of want her to keep it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of don't want it. You know what I mean?
All right. Now, going back to the feedback and the support that you get from the people, just recently, April Fool's Day, you put out on a Facebook a little April Fool's joke, and you got people, not so much that they were fooled, but they were disappointed, and you know, hoping it was a joke and stuff. You was fucking with us.
Yeah.
And I took it. I was like, no, it can't be. Is that part of you that maybe we haven't seen, the Joker side?
Oh yeah. I feel like I like to do stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I feel like I'm like that with close people. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I could be a little bit better with being more transparent about that for sure. You know what I mean? Because people, I mean, interpret like you know me as being very serious. You know, but
Yeah.
I also I feel like I can get away with jokes like that because
Right.
I am, because I could say something that heavy and serious and people believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because they're
Exactly.
used to me being that way. But yeah, I like doing stuff like that.
Good. No, definitely it broke a bunch of people on Facebook, myself included. A lot of your poetry is, or a lot of the stuff that I've heard and enjoyed, is relationship driven, or for the ladies, or with them in mind. Um, where does the inspiration come from? Is it, previous relationships? Is it someone specific that you're writing about constantly?
No. It's previous relationships. I mean, I also take a lot from my mom's relationships.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's a I love talking about this because there's a internal battle, right? Because I grew up with my mom. She was a single mom, and being a man and developing into a man, and then using your mom's experience as your moral compass can be very confusing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're human and we're people and we want to experiment and we want to, be out there. You know what I mean? And then, but then you have then I think of my mom and it's like, then I'm like, well, this person can be like my mom. You know what I mean? There's a struggle. You know what I'm saying? There's a struggle. I'm not like, that's just how I've always interpreted that. And then so that's sort of how I approach, my relationships too. And they're also about past relationships or current relationships when I was in them, about, like my mom stuff, and then also my ideal. You know what I mean? Because everyone has an ideal, you know what I mean? And I don't mean perfect, I just meant my ideal, you know what I mean? And that's always changing. I think when you grow older and you become exposed to more experiences, your expectations change, as they should, you know what I mean? So I think it's just me. And also it's just society too. Like now I just feel like everyone puts on this front that like it's cool not to feel something for somebody, you know what I mean? And it's not, no matter who you are, I don't care how good you look, I don't care, everybody wants to be in love with somebody, and if you say you don't, you know what I mean? And I just, with all due respect, because I've said it myself, you're lying. You know what I mean?
Nobody wants to die alone.
Like nobody wants to, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to have that person where you could talk about everything and nothing, you know what I mean? Everybody wants it. So
going back to the ideal that you spoke of, there was a video, and I'm gonna try to put it on this post that I saw recently on Facebook within the last month, where you're spitting a poem in a park.
It's Prowl, right? That's the name of it?
I was just gonna ask you what was the name of it.
Yeah, Prowl. That's the name of the poem.
And you're speaking of kind of like
I've ever written.
Can you just talk about it? Because I loved it. Yeah.
It's funny. I chased that poem, and I mean that like. I chase writing something like I wrote that poem, just that process, because I had, my girlfriend at the time had broken up with me, and literally like 2 nights later, that thing just came out, and I was just like, it was like, I don't write things from A to Z a lot. Like I don't go from top to bottom. Sometimes it takes a while. I'll write the ending, the middle, stack it together. I wrote this a few months ago, put that in with that. That one was A to Z, like just right down in there, and it was just like. How I was feeling at the time, I was just fed up, you know what I mean? And I think one of my favorite lines is that, or I guess what I spoke about is that, like, we constantly judge people based on what we've been through in the past, you know what I mean? So we perpetuate our own cycles.
Right. No, like I said, I'm going to attach that video because I really liked it. Will you be performing that piece, the 15th?
Probably, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let everybody know what's going down the 15th.
Yeah, I have a show at the Bitter End. It's a rock and roll venue, classically. There's only been a few hip-hop shows there, but I'll be there, and this is my solo show. I need 50 people there, though. But I'll go on at... I would need everybody there at 11, and I have 45 minutes to do my thing. So it'll be music, it'll be poetry. Most of it's gonna be stuff that no one's ever heard before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely look forward to
Yeah.
that show.
Cool, man.
Let everybody know where they can reach you on social media, where they can follow you at.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Facebook is facebook.com/DMatos105. Instagram is DMatos105. Twitter is DMatos105. SoundCloud is DMatos105.
And what's the 105?
My birthday, 10/5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
well, Danny, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a
I
dope
definitely
interview.
look forward to the
Yeah,
show
man.
the 15th.
Cool.
And everybody download the
Hangar.
the Hangar EP.
Yeah.
Come out to the show the 15th. And Danny's actually going to drop a new single very soon. I'm going to link that at the bottom of this interview as well. All right? Peace.
Dope, man.
My brother, thank you,
so
bro.
much, yo.
Nah, man, thank you. I'm really a fan, bro.